Good morning, Ohio State fans. Happy Friday. Welcome back to the 11 Dubcast for Friday, November 14th. Today is my birthday, and I'm spending it with the guy that came on this show last week and offered up a 56-0 score prediction that aged very gracefully. That would be the one, the only Ramzy Nasrallah. And he has returned to give us his thoughts on another upcoming Ohio State matchup with UCLA tomorrow night. Ramzy, thank you for joining us again. How you doing today?
I'm good. Just bet the money line. That way you don't have to get like tricky with point spreads. Happy birthday, George. Also, my wife's birthday and your birthday are the same day. I met my wife at the varsity club. I didn't know she was my wife at the time. The 1999 Illinois-Ohio State game. She was wearing an Illinois sweatshirt. She looked interesting. She still looks interesting. Obviously, it went well, but I bet her Ohio State would win that day. And if you know anything about the 99 team, they didn't win a lot. So I lost the bet, but won the war because she's still with me.
Well, happy birthday to your wife, and thank you for the well wishes. It's a special day for both of us in that case. And tomorrow will be a special day as well when Ohio State wins as a minus 10,000 favorite on that money line you just mentioned over UCLA. We will get into our preview for the game in short order, but before we do that, we want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor at the 11 Dubcast and 11 Warriors this Ohio State football season. That would be First Bank of Central Ohio. From game day to work day, First Bank of Central Ohio is proud to support the business owners that keep Central Ohio thriving. They're locally owned, business focused, and always in your corner. Give them a visit at fbcentralohio.com. Now, Ramzy, a handful of weeks ago, the game that I covered in October was the Illinois game. And coming out of that, I made this week's question on the site: which game other than Michigan on Ohio State's schedule are you most concerned about in the regular season? And at that point, UCLA was on a night. They had revived themselves from the dead. That was the weekend, if you will recall, where they beat James Franklin. James Franklin would then lose to Northwestern a week later and would be fired from Penn State in the middle of this skid.
You can just say that he would never win again.
I guess not. I hope not. We'll see where he ends. We'll see where he resurfaces, if at all. But I certainly hope it doesn't happen anytime soon. Nothing but I don't know if I've ever said a nice thing about Frames Janklin on the 11th
He's wealthy
in the years I've been doing
this. I would like his money.
Yeah, wouldn't we all? Wouldn't we all like to get paid to do nothing after doing a bad job?
He's winning at life. He's just not winning at football games.
I suppose so. That being said, UCLA at that point was on a nice little bounce back. They would go on to beat Michigan State on the road pretty handsomely after that, I believe by a 38-13 final score. However, recent weeks haven't gone as well for them. But the reason I bring up that weekend is because some people, including Dan Hope, Chase Brown, and myself, we were all of the opinion that UCLA at that point was going to be the biggest challenge for Ohio State remaining on the regular season schedule other than Michigan. Most people still thought it was going to be Penn State. That was probably true for about a half. It was, I think in many people's estimation, it just ended up being true outright. Coming into this game, despite the fact that about a month ago, some of us were very nervous about this, it turns out that the public is not nearly as concerned for Ohio State. UCLA will be going across the country to play in Columbus in prime time at Ohio Stadium. And they are now, even though Ohio State failed to cover the spread last week against Purdue, somehow Ohio State is favored by even more points this week than they were against Purdue last week. Purdue was the largest spread against an FBS opponent Ohio State has had this season at 29.5. Now we're looking at a 31.5 point spread for Ohio State this week against UCLA. So Ramzy is somebody that, as I referenced earlier, came on here last week and said they're going to win by 8 scores, and that didn't exactly manifest. How are you feeling about this one? Are you at all nervous about the return, the encore of Nico Iamaleava coming to Columbus after what he did or did not do last year? Do you see him getting any helmets cracked again in this one? How do you think this one plays out?
No. The first of all, I had no access to the injury report when we did the show last week. And if you told me that Ohio State would be playing without Carnell Tate at Purdue, would I be concerned? I'd say no. But if you look at the scoring drives that Ohio State did have and how they transpired, everyone's moving over. I mean, you look at they had Jeremiah Smith in the slot, which actually that's where he got his touchdown reception from. They were playing that Bison package with 4 tight ends. They were just, I wrote about it this week. They were just sort of messing around, trying things out, correcting things, like using Purdue as a live scrimmage. That's not good for bettors. It's good for Ohio State. And, I'm concerned more about the latter than the former. I apologize if people were taking my advice for betting. That's actually been pretty good this year, but last week, the backdoor cover wasn't helpful. I think if you look,
we actually, the audience called Chase and I gambling addicts for having the nerve to invoke the spread relative to assessing the public confidence in Ohio State this week. So I don't think many people are worried about Ohio State actually fulfilling on their bets relative to what's really important. I think most people share your perspective.
Yeah. So I mean, going into this game, the last time Nico came to the stadium, he was surrounded by much better players. This time he's surrounded by not very good players. Some interesting play calling. They snuck up on Penn State. They snuck up on Michigan State, but everyone sneaks up on Michigan State. And they haven't snuck up on anyone since. I think Nebraska beat them last week in the Rose Bowl with a backup quarterback who very limited. They ran a very limited offense and still won. So no, there's no concern for me. I think Nico's really good. But it's 1 on 11, or let's say he's got 2.5 good players. It's 3.5 on 11. That's not. I see Ohio State running drills again.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's one way to phrase it, I guess. But yeah, I mean, relative to last week, we saw that it could be. It only takes a couple I mean, some people came out of that game feeling let down, I think.
You leave West Lafayette without a kid with cancer being carried off the field in triumph. You've just survived West Lafayette, man. I've seen too much.
To the point. That was a big theme of what we were talking about last week, is the history of weird things happening at West Lafayette, to where you get out of there with a win, you're just happy if you're an Ohio State fan. To that point, the win that they had last week, the series is now dead even at 4-4 at Purdue since, I think, 2004. So it's nice to just be back at 500 again against a team that you would relatively consider inferior if you were Ohio State. That being said, we still got our share of weird things that happen. Obviously, the Carnell Tate. I wonder how many people we all picked Ohio State to cover last week. I wonder how many people would have done that if we knew that Carnell Tate was going to be held out pregame, to your point. I don't know if we ever actually got clarity on what the injury is, and Ohio State's usually pretty tight-lipped with that stuff. You have to think it was probably, if I had to speculate, it would be something that was like a hamstring that maybe they would just
some soft tissue thing that you don't want to get worse. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And what Ryan Day did say was that if it was a more dire situation, then Purdue would necessitate Carnell Tate could have presumably played through it. But it's good, I think, that they held him out for precautionary reasons. Obviously, it opened the door for Jeremiah Smith to, I think he set a career high in catches last week. So it's not like that guy is going to shy away from a larger workload. He can certainly handle it. But again, pre-game injury to one of your top 3 offensive players during warmups, that's on the Mount Rushmore of weird things that have happened at Purdue in recent history relative to Ohio State. I don't know if that makes the list, but it certainly fits the bill in terms of kind of weird, wild stuff that happens.
Troy Smith,
between that,
Terrell Pryor, and Braxton Miller. No, Braxton Miller won a game, but Terrell Pryor and Troy Smith both lost there. Like okay, yeah, just be happy that Julian Sand got out of there undefeated.
Absolutely. But to that point, Julian Sayin throwing, I think he threw a pick on the goal line against Grambling State, and then he threw another one here against Purdue last week. That the point that I made on the recap show with Chase was that this was a Julian Sayin goal line interception, and a garbage time Purdue touchdown away from being a 41-3 game as opposed to a 34-10 game. And of course, the other weird thing that you had happen was, Bo Jackson getting the 70-yard touchdown called back on what I think was a letter of the law block in the back. But if you really wanted to let it go,
Yeah.
I think you probably could have. In the interest of allowing a cool play to stand, you philosophically could have let that one slide.
Legitimate
but
clip, but not like it didn't have any impact on the play. And we're still, 2023 was the last time that an Ohio State Big Ten opponent got called for holding. We are over 2 years removed. They've not called any of those, but they called that block in the back. I know they don't keep a running tab, but like, if you're worried about the point spread, those things matter. But with this team and these opponents, it doesn't matter till it matters.
Yeah. So I only bring that up in the sense that the public having the expectations that they do for this UCLA game this week, 31.5 is an extremely high number, I think, for any team if you're playing another FBS school. So you're only a handful of those weird occurrences away from something like last week happening where one garbage time, things are looking good for 58 minutes, and then one garbage time touchdown later, and it all goes up in smoke. That being said, I think it's easier to control those kinds of freak outcomes in a home environment than it is in an away environment. So we're both feeling pretty good about how they match up against UCLA. I would think this is going to be Julian Sain's fourth game in a row where he throws for over 300 yards and completes more than 80% of his passes. My hope for this game is they start fast. I mean, this is probably anybody's hope for this game, to be fair. But in my ideal scenario, they start fast. They fulfill all of those boxes for Sain in the first half. And then the second half, they just spend fine tuning the ground game and trying to correct some of the issues that our own Jones identified on the film study that posted yesterday on the 11 Warriors YouTube channel.
Yeah, I think that they'll try to do a few things in the first half and then correct what wasn't done flawlessly in the second half. It's what we just saw in West Lafayette. The last time UCLA has the most recent win in this series, so revenge game for a bunch of guys that weren't born the last time they faced each other.
Yeah, I think I was kind of surprised looking back that I think since it might have been the 40s or the 60s, but I was looking when I was posting the release of the betting line last week on Sunday on 11 Warriors. I was surprised that these teams have only met about 10 times, I think, in the entire history of the two schools.
4-4-1. I went to the last two.
Yeah, this would be the 10th meeting, I guess this is what I meant to say.
In 1999, it was a night game also in Ohio Stadium, and the first half was going horribly. That team was the 99 Buckeyes were pretty bad. I hadn't met my wife yet. That wasn't until the Illinois game. That was senior day. But in the second half, there was a Belisari chant around the horseshoe, which if you're old enough to remember Steve Belisari's quarterback tenure, it didn't happen. It didn't happen many more times beyond that. But he had probably the best game of his 1999 was that one, and UCLA suffered for it. The 2001, the return trip on that home and home was the weekend after the week of 9/11, and I actually went to that game in the Rose Bowl, which means I got to O'Hare Airport, which was very empty, which is very strange for that airport to be empty.
Yeah.
It was pre-TSA, and they just looked at my name, which you can see on the screen, and I got pulled aside by a guy with a machine gun and was asked, "Why are you going on a plane to Los Angeles?" And I was like, I'm going to a football game.
I'm going to see Ohio State lose.
Right. Well, in 2001, yeah. I didn't know that then. I thought that we just needed to see it. We just needed something after that previous week, right? So the tailgating was like nothing else because it was humans seeing each other. And if you've ever been to the Rose Bowl, there's all these fields around the stadium where you tailgate. And George, do you know who the Neutron Man is or was? You don't know who the Neutron Man was? Oh, God.
My generation, when you say Neutron, we all think of Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius.
So Neutron Man was this old guy. His name was Orlis King. Anyone listening, if you Google 11 Warriors the crying man. You'll get a story about this. He used to dance during the game, and the band used to play Pointer Sisters Neutron Dance for him. He was the original super fan for Ohio State. I saw him in the field, and I shotgunned a beer with him, and that was
Wow.
one of those moments for Gen X. Like, we lost the game. I flew on an airplane twice, safely got back, and was like, how was LA? LA was beautiful. I shotgunned a beer with the Neutron Man. The Buckeyes lost 24-6. They're not very good. But
was LAX as desolate as O'Hare?
It was pretty quiet. Yeah. The flights, not to make this to like a post 9/11 show. The flights both ways were pretty empty. The movie this is back then, George, you couldn't choose movies. It was like your in-flight movie for this flight. It was Shrek. And it was, they hadn't been doing a lot of maintenance on the entertainment systems because of the events of September of 2001. They only had it in Spanish. So we had Shrek in Spanish. This lady comes, I upgraded to fly back. This lady comes and sits next to me, this blonde haired lady. And we both got pulled off the plane to be interviewed separately, which was really weird. It's like, we're interviewing you separately. I had no idea who this lady was. We get back on the plane. We're in flight. I'm watching Shrek in Spanish, having a Jack Daniels. I think they didn't have much selection. And she's like, that was weird, right? What happened there? And I'm like, probably my name. I don't know what happened there. She's like, yeah, I figured that's the same with me. I married a Lebanese guy. Her name is like Jessica Nasrallah. Like, well, I think I know why we just both got separated and interviewed.
That's incredible.
And she flew there from Dallas and was flying back to Chicago with me. And we were sitting together in first class. So we were like, oh my God. Okay, good. I'm glad that they're checking on stuff. But that was my memory of the last UCLA game. Neutron Man, Shrek in Spanish, Jessica, wherever you are, and a season to build on, because that season created that Michigan game created the modern trajectory for Ohio State, which was up until COVID, beat Michigan every year, win a Big Ten title, and then something higher.
Yeah. I first time I've ever heard Neutron Man invoked. Obviously, I'm familiar with Captain Buckeye, and I'm forgetting the name of the guy that's always on TV now with the face paint. But
Big Nut.
But yeah, how could I forget Big Nut? That's sacrilegious for a fan of my generation.
That's tough, man.
But yeah, Neutron. Well, it is what it is. Neutron Man. I'm gonna have to look him up after this show. I don't even know what he looks. I'm surprised. I've been a homegrown Ohio State fan my whole life. I'm surprised my father has never invoked.
Your dad's gonna be so mad at you, dude. When Ohio State lost in 1998 to Michigan State in the most impossible. I was at the game too. He became a meme before memes existed. So he was crying. They caught a picture of him. He had his sons with him. And that's what the Crying Man story on 11 Warriors was about. I wrote it. He died in 2004. It's all about him. But they took a picture of him, and every time Ohio State would lose, you'd see that picture on early versions of whatever Twitter was before Twitter. Like, Ohio State lost. Here's this dude crying because he's all decked out, right?
Interesting. Yeah, I'll have to look that up after the show then. Anyway, UCLA, our scoring predictions this week some of us may have adjusted our expectations relative to last week. Maybe you can call it laziness, but I haven't shifted my expectations at all. I said 45-7 last week. I'm saying 45-7 this week. That would technically be a cover for Ohio State. I can't endorse that, given I wouldn't bet a 4-touchdown spread. I can't say that I would endorse anybody going any higher than that this week.
No.
Again, there's too many things that are open to chance that could leave this open. And my estimation of UCLA a month ago was pretty good. That being said, this is a difficult situation for UCLA to be in now that they've regressed a little bit from it's like I can't say I've experienced this myself firsthand, but you know how some people say there's like before a pet dies, they have like a wild burst of energy. That's kind of like what's happened with UCLA.
I don't want to be morbid, but people do that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in any event, there was that wild burst of energy that UCLA had where they beat Penn State and then Michigan State, and then now we've regressed back into a lost season for the Bruins. So I think that's only going to.
Here's why 45 is bold for you. I wasn't paying attention to this, and then after the Purdue game, Do you know how many scoring drives they've had the last 5 games? It's the same number every game.
I would say probably around
It's 6.
5,
6
6.
scoring
Yeah.
drives per game. That's a field goal or a touchdown. So 45, they'd have to go for 2 a couple times to hit that. I went 42-6 because I thought, one more scoring drive would come from defense. Like, I don't know, because Nico's going to try really hard, right? I predicted a defensive touchdown last week too. That didn't really go as planned. Also because Purdue didn't do anything really crazy, right? They were trying to run their base stuff and I think shorten the game and get out respectably. They weren't trying to win, right?
Yeah.
So
I've noticed that they're kicking more this year than they had previously, which I know is probably a sore spot for you. But I'm sure you were delighted to see Jaden Fielding set a new career long last week.
that was awesome.
That
They
was
won
nice.
they won hidden yards last week by 45 yards. So
Yeah.
just going off of punts, the things that Ohio State loses like 90% of the time, they were plus 45. Thanks in part to punt returns and to also respect. Like, it was just respectable. Don't be dominant, just be respectable. Don't lose the game on the margins.
Yeah. So last year I was usually always of the mind that I'm never gonna I'm only picking touchdowns for both teams because the other team will be behind by so much to the point that kicking isn't going to do anything for them. This year I've noticed they've been trotting the kicker out more often. Just leaving a field goal in there lets you account for, if there's like a holding penalty or something in the red zone, they get into a 3rd and long, they don't convert. At that point, you just take the points early on. You're just trying to build momentum. So, but to your point, it could be a shaky night for kickers on both sides because according to what Chris Lauterbach said after we all became aware of each other's score predictions on Thursday, apparently it's supposed to be a very windy night in Columbus on Saturday night.
Yeah.
So it could be.
Wind is fine. I don't want thunder because, I have an advanced age here and I don't want to go to bed like 3 a.m. after a bunch of lightning delays.
Oh, heaven forbid. That would not be great for this game to get delayed, especially for me because I'm going to be
post game. Yeah, right.
Full disclosure, I'm going to be much more interested in the UCLA or the UFC pay-per-view at Madison Square Garden on Saturday night. And so if this game goes anywhere near out towards the realm of midnight when the title bouts are going to be happening, I am not going to be paying any attention. At that point in the game, I'm probably not going to be paying much attention to begin with, but I would like to pay a little bit of attention while I can to this game, hopefully while it's happening during the prelims when there's less at stake. So yeah, a delay I think would be in nobody's interest, but especially our interest,
right.
It sounds like. But yeah, in any event, we still both feel pretty good about this one. I've got them by a field goal more than you. You're accounting for. So are you saying they're going to kick 2 field goals, or you think they're going to get a touchdown, go for 2 when they're already a million points behind, and then not?
I think they're going to get a couple of those seam balls that other teams have gotten, get close to field goal range, and then just bomb a couple.
All right, fair enough.
Don't get shut out is sort of the mandate for teams like that, right? So
yeah. But it'll be nice to see this team or this defense ideally hold another team in that scenario out of the end zone entirely for another game. But regardless of how it ends up playing out, it would be great to just see them hold another opponent to single digits. It was a shame that got spoiled late in the game last week, but it is what it is. Purdue's always some weird circumstances.
When we're complaining about backdoor covers and winning by multiple, these are the problems you want.
These are the things that matter when you're a fan of a team that is usually favored to beat the inferior competition by a lot of points. This is how you have to judge and assess what their performance is relative to what the public is.
When you have a team that's rebuilt, this is a rebuilding year. I know the reloading and reloading and rebuilding are the same thing. It's the same thing. Reloading.
We just like to brand it specially because we're the Ohio State University.
It was good on a T-shirt. It doesn't involve Ohio State trademarks. Anyone can sell it. We don't rebuild. We reload. When you're 9-0 and you have 2 new coordinators and a freshman quarterback and 8 new starters in the defense, and you're like, oh, they backdoor covered on a 31-point spread. Man, just shut up. We're fine.
Yeah, I'm the biggest thing we want to see, I think, coming out of this is just that they continue to fine tune the run game going into the home stretch of the season. And I think UCLA will present a good opportunity to do that. Hopefully, once Sayan has already put the game away in the first half. So, thanks for tuning in, and go Bucks tomorrow. Ramzy, thank you very much for joining us again on the Dubcast. Happy birthday to Mrs. Nasrallah today. And thank you for tuning in. Thanks to our sponsor, First Bank of Central Ohio. We'll be back Monday morning to recap the Ohio State UCLA game and any other crazy stuff that may happen during week 12 of college football with Chase Brown. Until then, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for reading 11 Warriors, and we'll see you soon. Go Bucks. Take care, folks.